Hello and welcome to Property Perspectives. Now, today I have with me James Kilpatrick of Hammock, and Hammock is a property finance platform. When I first saw this about 3 or 4 weeks ago, this particular tool was really amazing. I'm just amazed at its simplicity and its ease of use. And for me, as we move into this making tax digital era, it's got to be the go-to solution for property investors and landlords. So welcome, James. Thanks for joining us this afternoon. So tell me, how and why did Hammock come about?
Hammock came about. We're in our 4th year now, and actually Hammock was the brainchild of my CEO, Manoj Vasani. Now Manoj has worked in tech his whole career. He's also a portfolio landlord, and was just constantly annoyed that his bank had all this information that they were doing nothing with. He's, and basically thinking like, my bank should be telling me if my rent is late, or my bank should be, helping me do this, this, and this. Every year he would have to download all his bank statements, go through it line by line, link like transactions to properties to try and work out how much he was actually making on each property, and the whole thing was just a bit of a mess. He's also obviously worked in tech and actually a lot in fintech, so he kind of had the skill set already. I got involved. I'm actually a landlord as well. Our head of tech is a landlord. So we built this, really for us, thinking there was quite a lot of property management about, not much property finance. So, we decided we could harness open banking, do all the things that we've been doing on spreadsheets. And, if we like it, then landlords will like it.
Okay, that sounds excellent. And over the 4 years that you've been doing it, in terms of landlords, different size landlords, different areas of operation, is there a particular group that have become the biggest users?
Yeah, it's interesting. So, when we first started out, we only went direct to landlords. And obviously in that point, we tended to get slightly larger landlords. Anything really from 3 to 30 was probably where we were at the start. But then obviously as we've gone through, we've built out more features, which means that then typically like larger and larger landlords can get involved. But then the big, turning point for us is that we suddenly discovered with MTD that all these accountants were looking for a solution as well. And actually now a lot of our business, probably the majority of our business, goes through accountants. So accountants actually buy our product, give to their landlord clients to get them ready for MTD. One of the knock-on effects of that, or something we hadn't really considered, is that just by sheer number, most landlords in the UK only have one property. Out of 2.5 million landlords, half of them only have one property. So now we have, tons and tons of one property landlords who probably, previously weren't looking for a solution, so they wouldn't have found us. But obviously because their accountants given it to them, so our user base has kind of skewed both ways over time. We are particularly popular with HMOs, just because we are one of the few solutions out there that charges per property, not per tenancy. So, a 5-bed HMO is the same as one property.
Oh, right. Okay.
So yeah, really popular with HMOs. But yeah, we have the full range. We have everything 1 to 100, I would say.
Okay. And is Hammock a finished product, or is it still growing and developing for the future?
Yeah, there's no such thing, I don't think, as a finished product, really. We're certainly not. I think even somebody who joined Hammock 6 months ago will have seen huge changes. We work on basically 1-week sprints, so we release new features every single week. It might even be small things that you might not notice, but everything from small to really big. We've got a lot of stuff coming in. Actually, even in the next sort of month or two, we've got some really nice stuff particularly for furnished holiday lets. But yeah, it never stops.
Excellent. Okay, well, I think we've talked enough about it. I think it's time that you showed us what it does.
Sure. All right, let me share my screen. Cool. So hopefully you can see this.
Yep, we can see that.
So, like most softwares you've probably seen, you've got this menu down the left-hand side here. I'm actually starting you off on the properties page. It's probably my favorite one, actually, and this is where, when you sign up to Hammock, this is where you first land, you add your first property, and straight away we pull an image from Google Street View, so you can see your property straight away, which is always quite a nice little wow moment. And then, the idea here is for each of your properties, just like I was saying, before, if you want to see actually how much money you make per property, I think we all know how much we make overall, But actually seeing it like this, sometimes you can be really shocked to see, oh, one of my properties actually loses money when I take into effect like my mortgage and repairs and things. So you can see exactly how much money you're making. You can see if your tenants are in arrears. And also, I know you notice up here, we've got these different portfolios. This also means if you have different ownership structures, you can manage that as well. So just like in this example here, this first property I own with my wife, she owns 75% and I own 25. The next two are just in my, I own them outright 100% in my personal name. So I've got those in my personal portfolio. And then down here, I've got one in my limited company. So at least from the landlord side, I can add all my properties, I can treat them all the same. And then it's only when we get to the tax statement piece where you or your accountant wants to take that data that we split it out in the way that they need to see it.
Right.
So I'll sort of cover that a bit more when we get to the tax statement. Obviously, where do all these figures come from? That is from the transaction screen. So let's jump over here. So Hammock works probably like most accounting software, I guess you'll have seen out there. Most common way is open banking. That is where, as the landlord, you connect your bank account to Hammock. That basically, by connecting your bank account, what you're really doing is just sharing a digital version of your bank statement. So you're not actually giving access to any funds or passwords or anything like that. But what it does mean is that if you scroll down, you then see all of your transactions feeding through. And as you can see here, anything with the green category, I've already categorized or it has auto tracked through Hammock. Anything else that just says click to track, these are kind of all just being ignored, or treated as if they're personal transactions for now. Really easy to get actually start tracking. You literally just click on a transaction. So in this case, this is a $2.99 expense. So when I click on that, this menu opens up on the right hand side asking me to categorize it. These are obviously all the expense categories, all tailored to landlords. Also, most of these have subcategories. So for example, here, if this is some insurance, I'll click here. I then select what type of insurance. So maybe this is, I don't know, appliance insurance, let's say, for 23 New Church Road. Hit save, and you can see that is now tracked and categorized. If that's a regular payment, so if you pay that every week, every month, whatever, it will now just start tracking automatically. You wouldn't need to do anything else. You'll just get a notification next time that your appliance insurance has gone out. It will be assigned and all done automated. But equally, most landlords who sign up to Hammock, they want to go back, whether it's to the start of the tax year or even to the start of their bank feed, which can be up to 3 years. So we make it really easy to go back as well. So just on the right hand side here, if you look, I've got these two options. I've got search and track, and I've got view matching transactions. So I'll show you this one first. So it just says similar transactions found. So I click here, and it basically says, right, this is what you've just tracked. These are all the payments that look similar. And you can see these are basically my monthly payments back till June when I took out that insurance. Mm-hmm. I can just hit select all and track. And so then, in seconds, I've just done the last sort of 8 months, and going forward, it will be automated. It also works the same way with rental income. So I'll quickly kind of show you that. So this is actually funny enough, it's the most recent payment I'm looking for. But let's just say it wasn't. It was, this rent payment was sort of hidden away amongst all my other transactions. It's really easy to use these filters up here to find a certain transaction. So you could search by amount or date. But I really like the keyword search. So you can see my tenant puts his initials at the start. So if I search for TSB, it then only shows me transactions that contain TSB. And these are all my rent payments going back to the start of the tenancy in June. So with these, I can just click on any of these. Again, menu opens up, this time with the income categories. So I'm going to select rental income, select the property. I've already added the tenant just for the speed of this demo, and then I hit save. And again, just like before, it's now tracked, linked to the right property, linked to the right tenant. But again, I want to track all these other payments as well. I don't want to do them one at a time. So we could do what we did before and do the view matching transactions, but as I've already filtered, I'm going to use the search and track. Now all of these become tickable, so I can do them one at a time, or I can just hit select all, update 9. So really good for like your utility bills and things like that. You can just search for the keyword of like Virgin Media or whatever, and you can just track them all in one go. And again, that is now going to start tracking automatically. And also with rental income, if my rent hasn't come in by the next due date, Hammock will also remind me that, or send me a notification that my rent is late, so I can start chasing the tenant, etc.
Okay, excellent.
So that's kind of, you know, that's kind of the simplicity of the tracking. I've already shown you. You then get your P&L by property. But what you also get here, if we jump to the tenancies page, is the rental history per tenant. And so I've got all my different tenants here. And, you know, like Tom is the one that you just saw me track the rent for. If we click into Tom, it's probably worth saying here that there are also two types of tenancies. There's the ones where you collect the rent yourself, and there's ones where you get it via a letting agent. This is an example of one where you collect it yourself. And I'll show you the other in just a second. But when I've set this up, I've said, right, Tom lives at 23 New Church Road. He pays £420 every month, starting in June. So just based on that, that's all Hammock needs to create this rent table, which starts in June. And then every period, it tells you how many transactions there were, what was due, what was then received, and then ultimately, what is your balance. And you'd be amazed how many times landlords sign up to Hammock, track all their payments, and they come in here and they'll find a missing payment that they had no idea about. But, you know, when they speak to the tenant also has no idea about. And it's really, you know, I've had people say to me, you know, you just made me 1,500 quid. I would never have known they hadn't paid me. So really powerful in this sense. But to come back to that letting agent payment, because I'm sure there'll be some people watching this who have, you know, all of their properties or some of their properties managed by an agent. The key difference there is that the full rent never actually hits your bank account.
Yeah.
They take their fees, maybe some other expenses. So if we look here, this tenancy I've set up here, I've set this up via my letting agent. So one of the first questions it will ask you is, do you use a letting agent to collect your rent? And in this case, I've said yes. So my rent here is £400 a month. That's what my tenants pay. But my agent fees are, you know, 11% plus VAT or whatever. And Hammock calculates that for me, 53.65. So Hammock already knows those two pieces of information. And you can see here, I've purposely left January and February untracked, so I can kind of show you how this works. So let's go back to the transaction screen. I'm going to find that January payment. So here, so this is dummy data, so you'll have to ignore that it says child tax credit. But essentially, let's imagine this is a normal monthly payment for my agent. They've received the 400 rent, they've taken off their fee, and they've passed the rest across to me. So if I'm doing this for the first time, again, I click on the transaction, I say, right, that's rental income for Sunny Dean, hit save. And this time you'll notice, instead of it just saying rental income, it says multiple track transactions. And then Hammock, because it knows you use an agent, it breaks it down into these three legs. So the amount that hit your bank account obviously gets tracked as rent, but then Hammock creates that letting agent fee for you, so it knows that you've paid an expense, and then it tops your rent up to offset. So this sort of first and third leg, that's your £400 in, and this is your £53 out. So it means, means your P&L looks right, it means your tax is right. But you're probably thinking, okay, that's great, but you know, what about if next month there's some repairs on the property and I don't get £346? So let's have a look at that. If I go to Feb, and let's just take this transaction. So this 137. Let's imagine my agent called me and said that we need to fix the radiator in the bathroom, whatever. I'm taking that out of the rent. So in that instance, this is one of the few transactions that won't track automatically. But again, all you do, you click on it, rental income, Sunny Dean, and then without me doing anything, Hammock tells me, look, this is less than expected. Do you want to create an expense for the difference? So I can say, yes, I do. This is because it could be anything. It's usually maintenance or fees. So I'll say, yeah, this is because of maintenance. And then, you know, let's go with repairs. Again, could be anything, could be a gas certificate, whatever. Hit save. And Hammock does the same thing. It creates that repairs expense and it tops the rent up to offset that. But then I can also, if I want to leave my accountant a bit of added info, I can just put in here, you know, fix the radiator. I can also attach my invoice. So if my agent has emailed me that invoice, I can just click add receipt, drag and drop it onto here, or save it onto my computer and find it that way. So really nice way of keeping all your stuff together.
Very, very good. Yeah.
And also this is all on a mobile app as well, I should say. So you can then just take a photo of your receipts, attach them straight to the transactions in Hammock, or you can just upload them to Hammock to attach later. So really, really nice. And if we just jump back, you'll see that for that tenancy that we just did, if I go back into moving on. So obviously we had these 2 missing payments before. And even though for January and February, neither month did I receive £400, Hammock knows that I did get 400 in rent, and it's created those expenses to offset. So that is, that's the bookkeeping side of it. That's kind of the main bit that you have to do as the landlord. And we, by the way, we offer a lot of support in doing that as well.
So how, does it work for HMOs as well?
Yeah, so HMO. So if I jump back to properties, when you add a property, you just search for the address, and then one of the questions here is it an HMO? If it is, you put how many rooms, and then you just add multiple tenants. So in the example I just showed you, I had 4 tenancies. They could be 4 tenants in the same property, or they could be 4 tenants in 4 different properties. It doesn't really matter, but you would see it all you'd see it all linked here to one property. So yeah, and I say that's because of that. That's why it's so much cheaper to manage HMOs on here, that we are really popular, as you can imagine. So if I jump ahead to the tax statement quickly, so this is obviously the bit your accountant's really interested in, and this is the first time you see those portfolios I mentioned. So before that I was just linking everything to my properties. So if we go into my personal portfolio, just click down here. You can see that I own 100% of this portfolio. I've got 2 properties in here. I can then filter by tax year. I can even drill down by property if I want to go a bit granular. But ultimately, the key thing here is I've got my summary or my headline figures. Most importantly, based on the way you track and categorize your payments, we automatically give your accountant the data they need to submit to HMRC. And in terms of MTD, they can report this directly from Hammock. So you do your bit, they check it, and they submit it. It's really simple. They don't need to chase you for spreadsheets or anything else. And both of you are going to save an awful lot of time. Underneath that, by the way, though, you've still got all the transactions that make up these totals. Everything that feeds this portfolio is in here. And this whole page, you can also download this as a spreadsheet as well to play around with it. And you can even sort of sense check it. If you're looking at this and going, God, that's weird. Like, what, I don't know, I spent £1,000 on cost of services. You can just click on here and it will update, and you go, oh, actually, yeah, you're right. I got a new telephone, or did some gardening. So really easy way just to keep on top of everything, and especially with Making Tax Digital coming in, people are going to have to start doing this not only digitally but quarterly. And when you're doing this stuff quarterly, you do want a system that effectively automates most of it, so that you can always be on top of it, which is exactly why we've been so popular, I think. So that is, I guess, that I mentioned at the start that a lot of our business is to accountants. Everything I've shown you so far is that piece. It's the bit for the landlord and the accountant. But there is a lot of stuff in here which is just for the landlord. So I'll just quickly show you a couple of things. So if we go to the overview screen, so this is where you can sort of see your P&L throughout the year. You can track your loan to value. You can see your occupancy rates. You can compare your rental yields across your portfolio, and obviously you can see high level your arrears. So that's great. There's different reports you can run in here. Actually, one cool feature we just launched recently in December. I'm sure the type of people watching this video, I suspect, will be more likely to know this, but there are a lot of landlords that don't. In 2025, all rental properties need to have an EPC rating of C or above, or you can face fines and penalties. So what we've done, if I go into, say, one of my properties here, 15 Franklin Road, we're connected directly to the government database for EPCs. By the way, this is a genuine property. This is genuine data. This is not like dummy data. I just go in here, I click on my EPC. You can see the last EPC on this property was done in 2018. And I can go in there and see, okay, fine, this is a C. I don't need to worry about this property. If it was a D or an E or below, whatever, I can look here. It will give me recommendations on how to get it up to a C, what it might cost, what my savings might be on my energy bills and things like that. So really, with that change coming in 2025, I implore all landlords to check their EPCs. If they haven't had one done in a while, probably worth getting one done to see if if it is going to cost you anything. Final thing, actually, I'll show you is the document section. I'm sure every landlord watching this knows there's a million things you have to remember as a landlord. I only have one property and I still have like 3 insurances, my gas certificate, my electric certificate, my tenancies, etc. So in here, you can upload all your important documents so you know exactly where they are at any one time. You can link them to the right property or tenant or portfolio. But most importantly, set the expiry date so that Hammock will start sending you reminders both on the app and in the platform. So hopefully that was a nice run through. Obviously, there's more I could have shown you, but it hopefully will give everybody at least an idea of what Hammock is all about.
And so from what you've shown us, I mean, it doesn't really matter whether you own the property in your own name or you own it in a limited company. It still does the same job for the ownership type.
Yeah, and that's exactly it, because from the landlord side, all you want to do is you just want to add all your properties, you want to track all your payments, and you almost want to treat them all the same. But then it's only really when you get to the tax side of things that you need them split out. And that's why, in fact, if I just jump back in here, I don't think I showed this. If I go into my joint ownership portfolio, this is the one, my wife owns 75% of this. So you can see at the top, James owns 25%. And when you scroll down, all the figures, it does give you the full figure, but it highlights James's 25%. So again, for MTD, Hammock is going to take all of my 100% from my personal, plus my 25% here, and give the accountant that one number to submit for them. But equally, if my wife Penny is also, she obviously needs to do hers, and especially if that accountant is also her accountant, they can just click on Penny, and this updates. Penny owns 75%, and then it gives you all her figures as well. Right. So it's all in one place, and it means that the accountant can take the data that they need in the format that they need it, but you as the landlord can kind of have free reign.
Yeah, I just, when I saw it, I just found it so simple, so easy to work, and it's not. Well, I suppose it is intuitive, but it just seems easy to follow.
Yeah, it really is. I mean, we do offer a lot of support. So I think you can probably see there's a little link here. So it's training. If you click on that, it takes you to all the training videos. They're all about 1 minute each, and it kind of takes you through step by step. Some landlords need it, some don't. We also have live chat, so you can literally just click here, send a message, and somebody will come back to you. So we do offer an awful lot of support in getting set up in the first place. But really, yeah, so much of it is like wherever you think you need to click is usually where you need to click. So yeah, I think it is easy to use is always the phrase we hear the most, and it's kind of why we designed it this way.
And what about costing then, James?
Yeah, so our pricing it's purely based on the number of properties that you manage. So within that, the feature set is exactly the same. And essentially you're looking at, for your 1 to 3 properties, that is $4.99 a month plus VAT. If you're slightly bigger and you're in that 4 to 10 bracket, then it's $9.99 a month plus VAT. And if you've got any more than 11, then just get in touch with us and we'll give you the price.
Excellent. Okay, I mean, that's been brilliant, and I hope that the people that are watching this video see it maybe in the same way that I did. It was just something that was very, very simple and very, very easy to use. So thanks for this, James. That's been excellent.
My pleasure.
What I will do is I'll put a link to your website in the comments below so that people can then access it that way.
Yeah, and I was going to say one thing I should probably add there. So with all the Hammock licenses, as a landlord, you get a 30-day free trial anyway. So feel free to just go to the website, sign up, play around. And then again, if you do want to ask any questions, this live chat is also on the website. So you can ask a question, you can ask for a demo and an onboarding support. So it's all there.
Excellent. That's really good. Okay. So you'll be getting lots of people signing up for their 30-day free trial.
Well, yeah, I mean, we do already, so that would welcome more.
Okay, well, thanks for joining us, James. Thanks for watching the video, everybody, and we'll see you again soon.